Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Bachelor and Master English. Today I am going to discuss a lesson from Bachelor level of compulsory English. The title of the lesson is If Not Higher. It's written by I.L.Peretz. This story is about connection between physical and spiritual world. Here the spirit transcends physical world and attains higher level of world, that is heaven. In the story, Rabbi of Nemirov, during penitential prayers and everyone trying to find out, but he is not in service of world people. He is not easily found in the physical world as he is embedded in the spiritual world. So the story finally admits that he has reached to spirituality, if not higher. This higher refers to heaven. And here contextualization for this story. Peace is not dated, but it can be assumed it was written approximately between the late 1800s through 1915 in the days preceding Yom Kippur. It could be taking place in Poland, since there is where the writer is from, and possibly what was a village in the then USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, but now this country doesn't exist. It divided into 15 states, including Russian Federation. And historical context seems to be early 19th century Jewish history. Early is Christ and before for these ancient people. Okay, let me tell something in Nepali here. प्रस्तुत इफ नट हायर कथामा ज्युजको महत्त्वपूर्ण वार्षिक धार्मिक व्रत अनुष्ठानको चर्चा छ। उनीहरूको नयाँ वर्ष लाग्ने बेलामा पेनिटेन्शियल प्रेयर प्रायश्चित प्रार्थना हुन्छ। नयाँ वर्षलाई रोस ह्यास्बना भन्छ अनि त्यस दिन चल्ने त्यो व्रतको पर्व यम किपुरको दिन टुङ्गिन्छ। ती 10 प्रायश्चितका दिन प्रभु यहोवाले प्रत्येक व्यक्तिको चरित्र हेर्छन् र आउने वर्षका लागि प्रत्येक मान्छेको भाग्यको लिस्ट बनाउँछन्। त्यो सूची उनले अन्तिम दिन सुनाउँछन्। त्यो पर्वको सुरुको दिन रस हासना र अन्तिम दिन यम किपुरमा गरिएको प्रार्थना आउँदो वर्षको सुस्वास्थ्य, धन सम्पत्ति र रोग बिमारको निर्णय गर्छ। ती निर्णायक दिनहरू हुन्। रबिस अर्थात् धर्मगुरुहरूले मानिसलाई त्यसका लागि 1 महिनादेखि तयार हुन, व्रत बस्न, प्रार्थना गर्न सिकाउँछन्। यसरी विश्वास गर्नेका लागि ईश्वरको भय र पृथ्वीमा उनीहरूको अवतरणको सम्भावना देखाउनु यस पर्वको लक्ष्य हो। यस कथामा त्यस अवधिमा रबिस यहुदी धर्मगुरुले के कसरी कष्ट सहेर पनि अरू ज्युज यहुदीहरूको सेवा गर्छन् जुडाइजमका अनुसार भन्ने देखाइएको छ। को कथाको नेपालीमा सारांश म यहाँहरूलाई चाहिँ सुनाउन कोसिस गर्दैछु। पेनिटेन्शियल प्रेयरको बेला थियो। यहुदी धर्म र अनुयायीका लागि अत्यन्त पवित्र समय। सत्कार्य गर्नुपर्ने प्रभुलाई देखाउन, सुखका लागि, जीविकाका लागि, स्वास्थ्य र शान्तिका लागि। निम्रोबको रवि प्रत्येक शुक्रबार बिहान अलग हुने गर्थ्यो। कतै नदेखिने, प्रार्थना गर्न छैन, ओछ्यानमा पनि छैन, कतै छैन। मान्छे ठान्थे ऊ सत्कार्यमा तल्लिनु होला। यतिकैमा एक दिन एउटा लिथबक आयो। ऊ अरूका धर्ममा विश्वास नगर्ने, शङ्का गर्ने र आफू मात्र गतिलो भन्ने पाखण्डी पाराको मान्छे थियो। रवि कहाँ हराउँदो प्रत्येक शुक्रबार भनी उसलाई शङ्का लाग्यो र लुसुक्कै छिरेर रविको घरमा पस्यो। उसको ओक्स्यानभित्र लुकी बस्यो। आँखा नझिम्काइ ढुकिराख्यो र बिहान हुन लागेपछि खाटमा सुतेको रवि उठ्छ। 1 घन्टादेखि गुनगुनाउँछ र जुरुक्क उठ्छ। त्यसबेला लिथबक डरले खुम्चेर काम्दै बस्यो। रवि उठ्यो, लुगा लगायो, बन्चरो र डोरी बोक्यो, सडकको छेउछेउ लाग्यो। पछि लिथबक च्यो चर्चो गर्दै डराउँदै हिँड्छ। सहर नागेपछि ससानो जङ्गल आयो। त्यहाँ एउटा सानो रुख ढाल्यो, दाउरा चिर्यो र भारी बोकेर रवि हिँड्यो। बाटोमा एउटा ससानो तितेपातीको छाप्रामा बसेकी बिमारले सिद्धिन लागि एक यहुदी धर्मी बुढीको घरमा ढोकढक्यायो। को हो, के चाहियो? म भासिल, सस्तोमा दाउरा बेच्छु आमै। कहाँ पैसा छैन, केले किन्नु रोगीले? म उधारो दिन्छु नि। कसरी तिर्नु पछि मैले? मूर्ख आमै, नाथे 6 पेन्स, तिमी रोगी यहुदी, अनि म त्यति रकम विश्वास गर्न सक्दिनँ तिमीलाई? ईश्वरमाथि विश्वास गर्न सक्दिनौ। अनि कसले आगो सल्काइदिएला यो रोगीलाई? म सल्काइदिन्छु नि भन्दै ऊ बस्यो। आगो जोड्दै प्रार्थना गरेर दन्दन पार्यो अनि धेरै तातो पारेपछि ऊ हिँड्यो। त्यो लुकेर हेरिरहेको लिथबक अत्यन्त प्रभावित भयो र रविको शिष्य बन्यो। त्यसपछि अरू शिष्यहरू बीच रविको नेमिर कसरी स्वर्ग चढ्छन् भन्ने प्रसङ्ग लिथबकले भन्छ। इफ नट हायर, त्यहाँभन्दा माथि होइन भने, अर्थात् माथि नचढे पनि धरतीबाट माथि अवश्य भन्ने भाव प्रष्ट हुन्छ। यसरी रविले कठोर अनुशासन, दिनचर्या र मानव प्रेमको तरिकाले लिथबक परिवर्तित भयो र उसको चाहिँ घैँटोमा घाम लाग्यो। उसको अर्काप्रतिको आशंका चिरियो। अर्थात् असल कार्य धरतीमा गर्नु र स्वर्ग एकसाथ चढ्नु उस्तै। यो कथा नेपालीमा यही नै हो। अब यो कथाको 4 लेभल अफ इन्टरप्रिटेसन, त्यसमा हामी पहिला समरी भन्छौँ, त्यसपछि इन्टरप्रिटेसन, अनि क्रिटिकल थिङ्किङ, अनि एसिमिलेसन। ओके, फर्स्ट अफ अल समरी अफ द स्टोरी. At the time of penitential prayer, the Rabbi of Nimirov would vanish every Friday morning. He was seen nowhere. Once Litvak grew skeptic about the disappearance of the Rabbi, so he stole into the Rabbi's room, slid under the bed and kept waiting. At dawn, he heard morning prayers. The Rabbi was uneasily groaning for an hour. The Rabbi got up before dawn, put on his clothes, took an axe and rope and walked into the road. The Litvak followed him until he reached a small forest outside the town. There he followed a small tree. There he felled a small tree, chopped into firewood and brought the bundle back home. On the way, he stopped by a small hut by the side of the road. As he asked the single bedridden woman of that hut, "I have wood to sell, very cheap." The woman replied she had no money. The Rabbi told her he would trust her for a small amount of 6 cents. Why she is not trusting the God? Then she told that there were none to help to light the fire. At this, the Rabbi kindled the fire himself for her, recited penitential prayer, and shut the store. Now the Litvak was convinced that rabbis are devout, pious, good, humble, and the real servants of God. So the Litvak became the disciple of the Rabbi. Then now the Litvak believes that the Rabbi ascends to heaven during the period. He compares good deeds on earth with an act of ascending to heaven temporarily. This is the summary, and let us go with the interpretation of the story. Interpretation. This story is a religious one, and the writer I.L.Peretz might be trying to tell us to have faith in God. It raises a big question on religion. Which is higher, prayer or philanthropy? The writer tries to blend theism with philanthropy. He wants to make sure that to worship humanity is to worship God. So the rabbi went to the sick woman's house in order to help her instead of going to the praying house. It's a center for pleasure and luxury. However, by serving her, the rabbi worships God. This story may also be interpreted to mean that the best way to give advice is to set a good example. Instead of telling people to serve the poor and helpless, the rabbi first served and then he resisted the prayer. The story places same honor to prayer and philanthropy. And it's time to think the story critically. An Orthodox may ask so many questions about this beautiful religious story. Was Litvak true or false? Can a man go to heaven in his lifetime? Will a rabbi work at the time of prayer? Should he not go to the praying house for penitential praying? The devotion of Ravi is wonderful and practical one. Ravi's serving of humanity is a satire to the preachers and worshippers, which may in turn their ambition. To be idealist is not as good as to be realist. God is confined not to the practice of prayer, penance, idol worship alone. Another simultaneous practice is God loves those who love their fellow men. A man feels satisfied if he can help the people in trouble, and dissatisfaction is heavenly pleasure. Does God repay philanthropy? Let us discuss assimilation. The story, if not higher, is very much common in our society. Many people go to temples to show their devotion. They go there in search of truth and meet God, for example, God and Goddess. But they do not keep sympathy to humanity. When I read the story, I remember Lakshmi Prasad Devkota's very famous poem Yatri, the Pilgrim. कुन मन्दिरमा जान्छौ यात्री, कुन मन्दिरमा जाने हो, कुन सामग्री पूजा गर्ने साथ कसोरी लाने हो. These are the beginning lines of the poem. In the poem, the speaker requests the traveler to go to the poor and the suffering people. If their wounds are healed, the traveler will be happy. We can't see God on earth, but we can see Him in the form of man. Therefore, those who serve human beings in trouble serve God best. God enjoys poor people's hearts. To search God in them is possible way of getting God's images. I believe in action, not in spying. I am, however, pleased to see Litvak correct in his skeptic attitude. Let me tell you one sentence summary of the story. Litvak, not seeing the rabbi at the prayer and being skeptic, wanted to know about the latter, spied one night to find him wake up much early, carry a rope, brass nails, axe, and go to the forest for making a bundle of firewood for a sick woman, sell her it on credit and make fire for her, and eventually realize that the latter's philanthropy was not lower in faith, if not higher. So, this is all about the discussion of today's lesson, that is, if not higher, by I.L.Peretz. And before I conclude, I am going to tell you the central idea of the story. The story shows the humbleness and austerity of the pious rabbis. They can work together for livelihood, peace, health, and good matches. They are alert to serve God by serving the poor and needy people. It is their belief on God that regulates their conduct, behavior, and the way of life. Even a skeptic, Litvak, after close scrutiny of the rabbi's behavior, was influenced and consequently became his disciple. So how we can change people, not by words but by action. This is what you can learn from the story. If you have any queries regarding the presentation, you can put your comments in my comment box. I'm sure if you have not subscribed my channel, you are subscribing it now and sharing it for your friends and other concerned people. Thank you very much.